90% of lottery jackpot winners are broke again within 5 years. Some of them end up worse off than before they ever bought a ticket. Dead broke, divorced, disowned by family, or in Abraham Shakespeare's case, dead. He won $30 million in Florida in 2006, and by 2009, he was murdered by a woman who talked her way into managing his money. That is not an urban legend. That is a real case with a real trial, with a real body found under a concrete slab in Plant City, Florida. So when people say winning the lottery ruins lives, they are not exaggerating for views. It is documented, it is repeated, and it happens fast, usually within the first few days. But here is what almost nobody talks about. A small percentage of winners do the exact opposite. They take the same absurd stroke of luck, and instead of imploding, they quietly build generational wealth that lasts decades. Same jackpot, same temptation, same vultures circling them within hours of the news breaking. Completely different outcome. And when you actually study what they did differently in that first week, it is not luck. It is a pattern. It repeats itself across totally unrelated winners in different states, different decades, different amounts. Today we are breaking down exactly what that pattern looks like. Before we get into it, I want you to actually sit with this question for a second. If you won a life-changing jackpot tomorrow, what is the very first phone call you would make? And who is the one person you absolutely would not tell right away? Drop that answer in the comments. I genuinely read every single one, and I want you to guess something else too. As we go through these 10 real winners, try to call it before I tell you. Which one do you think lost it all? And which one do you think is still quietly rich today? Comment your prediction before the reveal. It's more fun that way, and I want to see how many of you get it right. And if you have got a friend, a sibling, anyone in your life who just came into money, an inheritance, a settlement, even a smaller windfall, send them this video before they make one of these mistakes. Because these mistakes are not rare, they are the default. If you are new here, this channel breaks down real financial mysteries, true stories about sudden money, and the psychology behind why smart people make terrible decisions when life changes overnight. So if that's your kind of thing, hit like on this video and subscribe, because we've got a lot more stories like this one coming. All right? Let's get into it. The first thing every smart winner does within that first week is nothing. Literally nothing. They do not sign anything. They do not tell anyone outside their closest circle. And they definitely do not go public. Manuel Franco won $768 million in the Powerball in April of 2019, one of the largest jackpots in American history at the time, out of West Allis, Wisconsin. Wisconsin law required him to be identified publicly, but before that press conference ever happened, Franco spent time with an attorney and a financial advisor building a plan. He did not rush to a bank. He did not rush to buy anything. He sat on the news and let professionals get organized first. That single decision to pause, when every instinct in your body is screaming at you to celebrate loudly, is the single biggest predictor of whether a winner survives long term. The second thing they do is protect their identity as hard as the law allows. This is where geography actually matters a lot. In states like Delaware, Kansas, Maryland, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, and Texas, winners can claim jackpots anonymously or through a trust. Smart winners use every legal tool available to stay out of the spotlight, because the moment your name and hometown are public, you become a target. Not metaphorically, literally. Jack Whitaker, who won $314 million in the Powerball in West Virginia back in December of 2002, had his identity revealed almost immediately, because West Virginia required it. Within months, someone broke into his truck and stole nearly $500,000 in cash he was carrying around. His home was broken into. His granddaughter, Brandy Bragg, whom he had showered with gifts, died under drug-related circumstances just a few years after the win. Whitaker himself later said publicly that he wished he had torn up the ticket. That is not a man who mismanaged his money through bad investments. That is a man whose life was torn apart the moment the entire state knew his name and his face. Now here is where I will give you my honest take, because I think a lot of financial channels gloss over this part. I do not think Jack Whitaker's downfall was really about greed or stupidity at all. If you actually look at the timeline, he tried to do good with the money. He set up a foundation, gave enormously to churches, tried to help family. What destroyed him was exposure. Once your identity and your face are tied to a specific number in a specific town, you cannot undo that. Every stranger who approaches you now has one thing in mind. I genuinely believe anonymity, where it is legally possible, is not paranoia. It is the single most important financial decision a winner will ever make, more important than any stock pick or real estate deal that comes after it. The third thing smart winners do is assemble a team before they touch a dollar. Not one guy, a team. A tax attorney, a certified financial planner who is a fiduciary, meaning they are legally required to act in the winner's interest and not just sell them products. And an accountant who specializes in sudden wealth. Brad Duke, who won $220 million from a Powerball ticket in Idaho in 2005, did exactly this. He assembled a team of advisors immediately and treated the jackpot less like a windfall and more like a business he now had to run. He has spoken publicly about setting long-term financial goals almost immediately, treating the payout like a startup that needed a real strategy, not a party fund. Reports suggest his careful long-term investment approach helped grow his winnings substantially in the years after the win. The fourth thing they do, and this one shocks people, is they take the lump sum almost every single time, but not to spend it. They take it because they do not trust the annuity structure to survive inflation, lottery commission policy changes, or their own mortality. And then they hand a huge portion of that lump sum straight to their financial team to structure into diversified, boring, unsexy investments. Mavis Wansink won $758 million in Massachusetts in August of 2017, at the time, the largest single-ticket jackpot in U.S. lottery history. She walked into her employer the very next day and quit her hospital job on the spot, which honestly, fair enough. But behind that headline, she also moved quickly to secure professional financial guidance rather than making the decision alone. Understanding that a number that large needed structure. Quick pause here, because I want to know something from you specifically. Out of these stories so far, which one has shocked you the most? Whitaker's break-ins, Shakespeare's murder, or Wansink quitting her job the very next day? Comment it below. I want to see which case actually stops people in their tracks, because in my experience, it is never the one people expect. The fifth thing smart winners do is set a public giving policy immediately, and I mean immediately, sometimes within days. This sounds counterintuitive. Why give away money you just got? But it is actually a defense mechanism. The moment word gets out that you are wealthy, you get flooded with requests from family, old classmates, strangers, charities, and even people claiming to be long-lost relatives. Winners who set a clear policy early, for example, committing to a specific one-time gift for immediate family and a firm no for everyone else, avoid months of exhausting negotiation and resentment. Cynthia Stafford won $112 million in California in 2007 after entering a lottery pool with her siblings following her brother's death. And she has spoken about using the winnings deliberately to fund a production company and support her family in structured ways rather than handing out unlimited cash on demand. Structure early prevents chaos later. The sixth thing they do is they do not quit every relationship and vanish, but they also do not stay reachable to everyone from their old life. There is a middle ground, and the winners who last Find it fast. Sandra Hayes won a share of a $224 million Powerball jackpot in Missouri in 2006 as part of a work office pool of coworkers. Shortly after, a woman claiming to be a friend sued her, alleging they had a verbal agreement to split winnings, even though Hayes was not part of that pool. Hayes fought it and won in court, but she has spoken about how quickly people who were barely in her life before suddenly claimed closeness afterward. Smart winners get comfortable disappointing people fast, because every week you delay saying no, the request gets bigger. The seventh thing, and this is a big one, is they do not make a single major purchase in that first week. No new house closing, no car off the lot, no boat, nothing irreversible. They let the initial adrenaline pass. This is basic behavioral psychology. Decisions made in a state of extreme emotional highs are statistically worse than decisions made after the nervous system settles down. This is exactly the trap that Evelyn Adams fell into. She actually won the New Jersey lottery twice, in 1985 and again in 1986, for a combined total of over $5 million, an almost statistically impossible feat. But she has openly admitted in interviews that she gave money away, gambled a large portion of it in Atlantic City, and ended up living in a trailer years later. 2 lightning strikes, and still it slipped away because the spending decisions were emotional, not strategic. Now here is my honest opinion on this one, and I know it is a bit controversial. I do not think people like Evelyn Adams or Michael Carroll, the UK lottery winner known in the tabloids as the Lotto lout, after winning £9.7 million in 2002 and losing almost all of it within a decade through gambling and reckless spending. I do not think they are simply weak-willed or foolish. If you ask me, the entire lottery system fails these people. Nobody hands a first-time winner a mandatory sit-down with a financial psychologist. Nobody legally requires a cooling-off period before the money is released. The system is built to pay out fast and walk away. And then, society turns around and blames the individual for falling apart under a level of pressure almost none of us have ever actually experienced. That is my take, and I think it is worth sitting with. The 8th thing smart winners do is legally separate the money from their marriage or relationship status, immediately, through prenuptial-style agreements or trust structures, even if it feels unromantic or distrustful. Denise Rossi won $1.3 million in the California lottery in 1996 and did not tell her husband, filing for divorce 11 days after the jackpot money arrived, hoping to keep it entirely for herself. She got caught. A court found she had violated disclosure laws and awarded the entire jackpot to her ex-husband as a penalty. The lesson smart winners take from this is not to hide money from a spouse. It is the opposite. Transparent legal structuring protects both people and prevents the exact kind of blow-up that turned this into a court case in the first place. That is my take, and I think it is worth sitting with. The 9th thing they do is they set a strict, boring monthly budget for themselves almost immediately, often with the help of their financial team, essentially paying themselves an allowance from a fortune that is otherwise locked away in structured investments. This feels absurd when you have millions sitting in an account. But it works because it recreates the psychological boundaries that kept most people financially stable before they ever won anything. Sharon Tirabassi won $10 million in Ontario, Canada in 2004 and did the opposite of this. She spent freely on parties, cars, and a big house, and within about 10 years, she was reportedly back to renting a home and taking the bus, a story she has spoken about publicly since. Winners who succeed long-term almost always describe treating the fortune like an endowment that pays them a salary, not a pile of cash sitting there to be spent. The 10th and final thing smart winners do within that first week is they get brutally honest about who they actually are as a person before the money changes anything. Marie Holmes won $188 million in the Powerball in North Carolina in 2015, took the lump sum of just over $87 million after taxes, and has spoken about setting up trust funds specifically for her children, so the money would be protected long-term, regardless of what happened to her personally. That instinct, protecting the next generation through legal structure rather than simply handing over cash, is something almost every long-term successful winner shares. They stop thinking about the money as theirs to enjoy right now, and they start thinking about it as something they are temporarily responsible for managing well. If there is one thread connecting every single winner who kept their fortune, it is this. They all treated the first week not as a celebration, but as damage control. They slowed down when their body was telling them to speed up. They said no when saying yes felt good in the moment. And they let boring professionals make boring decisions with genuinely life-altering amounts of money, instead of trusting their own gut in the most emotionally extreme moment of their entire life. So here is my real final thought for you. The lottery does not actually test your luck. Getting the numbers right, that is luck. What happens in the 90 days after is a test of discipline, and that test does not care how many zeros are in your bank account. So I will leave you with the same question I asked at the start, but I want a real answer this time. If the call came tomorrow and you had the winning numbers, would you actually be able to sit on that news for a full week before telling a single soul? Comment your honest answer below. I want to know if you think you could actually pull it off. And if this story pulled you in, do me a favor. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit like on your way out, and subscribe if you want more real stories like this one. I will see you in the next video.